I've seen a lot of discussion online about the new Maggot King boss and how it's not very difficult and the drops are bad. And oh, Jagex said it was going to be way harder than this. And I kind of wanted to dispel the sort of the criticism, at least for the difficulty part, because people were expecting difficulty based on what Jagex recommended, which honestly is probably their own fault for digging their own hole there. Kind of wanted to talk about how people are misunderstanding this boss a little, because I genuinely think it is one of the most unique difficulty bosses in the game, and I kind of love it for it, and why the drop rates and the loot table match the kind of boss that Maggot King is. So let's start with the Maggot King, right? The Maggot King is not upfront difficult, right? You can get through a KC of this boss pretty easily once you figure out what you're doing. I think this design was clearly intentional, you know? This boss was clearly designed to not be an upfront challenge, but the difficulty being how much and how fast can you kill this thing per hour. You know, anybody can survive this boss, but how high can you push the kills per hour with this thing? How long can you stay? Because the runback is so punishing. That's what this boss is. We're not playing Ninja Gaiden, we're playing Devil May Cry. You can tell this is the case because of how the boss is designed. If you take a look at his attacks, you'll notice that pretty much none of them do that much damage unless you're getting caught off prayer. And even still, all of it's survivable. The main difficulty in reality is the punishment of the attacks themselves, because the attacks aren't meant to kill you. The attacks are meant to slow you down. You know, the poison pools remove your antidote invulnerability because it's trying to make you sip more antidote. The yellow pools drain your stats and make you lose a tick on attacks because it's trying to slow you down. Even getting caught off prayer with melee and mage attacks only really does like maxes a 30 or something, 38, I think, which isn't really that bad. You can eat your way out of it and just change your prayer real quick. It's not that punishing, because the point of it is not to kill you, it's to slow you down. The point is making you have to teleport back and do another trip and having to waste supplies on the boss. Making you eat throughout the encounter is sort of forcing you to slow down. And that's what's making the kill slower, because it is so punishing to not be constantly DPSing this boss. Ideally, with the Maggot King, you are not eating until the end of the fight. That's what you're gunning for. So the better you do, the more damage you're doing constantly, the more you're committing to that idea, the quicker your kills, the better kills per hour you're getting, is the difficulty of this boss. If you are not doing the mechanics right, it's going to take you like 4 or 5 minutes to kill this boss. If you're on point, you can get sub 2-minute KCs. Basically, the conclusion is that it's not a test of perseverance through mechanical skill, but how willing you are to push this thing to its limits. Because, I mean, you can see people, you know, running Darox and hitting ZCB specs and just nuking this thing from orbit. And that's the plan. I believe that was the goal of this boss, to push how much you are willing to put in effort to get more and more kills per hour that then result in better chance at drops. That design philosophy is why I think the drop table is perfectly fine for the Maggot King. Realistically, this boss is very new, so people are now just pushing the limits of what is possible with this boss. I wouldn't be surprised if there was KCs sub 1 minute. The point is to push you to get as many KCs per hour as you can. Why are you getting rewarded regular loot when in theory you don't even have to spend that many resources to kill this thing? It's not hard to kill, really it isn't. It doesn't take much. I think the best example of this is that S2L recently on stream did a kill of Maggot King with Mystics and a Sarachnis Cudgel. And I think this KC is like the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Like, yes, you can clear this boss with Mystics and a Sarachnis Cudgel, but it took you 6.5 freaking minutes. The hard part is getting it really fast, or pushing the items you have to their limit to be able to get as many KC per hour as possible. Why would a boss that doesn't have upfront difficulty reward you with loot drops, right? You know, compared to something like Vorkath, where the idea is that you're using a ton of supplies, you're getting hit through prayer a lot, and the reward is consistent loot throughout KCs. I know a lot of people are like scarred by Fasani's Nightmare and how terrible the drop table is there. And I agree with those people, personally. I think the drop table at Fasani's Nightmare is just, like, unforgivable. Like, the formatting of putting these terrible drops on a boss that takes so much effort and skill to get done quickly and get done right. But a boss like this, where the upfront difficulty isn't hard, it's a matter of you pushing yourself to get KC per hour, I think this loot table is great, honestly. There shouldn't be, you know, gigantic rewards from non-rare items from this boss, because people are going to be killing this thing. The highest effort players are going to be killing this thing like sub 1 minute before we know it. You know, people are going to really math this thing out, and there's going to be ways to get so many KC per hour here that putting a actual drop table on this thing and how it's designed is completely unstable. You'd be pumping so much money into the game so fast from people killing it with Darox that where the main supply cost is mainly your ammo and your charges. Basically, the effort that you are able to put into this boss will reward you with higher kills per hour, which gives you more chances at the rare drops. That's the idea. The effort doesn't come from surviving, it comes from killing it hard and fast. That's why the loot table is so terrible, because you're not getting rewarded for just killing them, you're being rewarded for killing them fast and getting more and more chances at those uniques. I think the design is sound. Clearly some people have some issues with it. I get why people are upset that there isn't a very good drop table on the Maggot King. Like, yeah, getting nothing for 300 KC sucks. I mean, I have nothing on the clog yet, but I think the idea of designing the drop table similar to how God Wars Dungeon used to be, where the value is in the uniques, not the regular drops themselves. You shouldn't be getting rewarded for just getting kills on this guy. As we just saw, it's really easy to just get a kill on this guy. It's very simple. The run back is supposed to be annoying. The loot table is supposed to suck. Personally, I think we have too many bosses that give consistent loot and drops for very little supply cost at all. Personally, I think Zulrah and Hydra have some of the worst designed loot tables in the game. Especially Hydra, man. Hydra's just too much. You can stay there forever and you're constantly being rewarded with endless money and alkables, and all the loot is worth money, and it messes up the economy when the idea is supposed to be inputting resources and outputting unique drops, rather than the boss just giving you resources over and over and over again so that you can keep going forever. You're dumping charges, you're dumping death coffers, you're dumping, you know, sunfire runes into this thing because you want to kill it as fast as possible to get the unique rewards. Mark my words, if they don't mess up the run back and the loot table on this thing, maybe they can add a little bit to the loot table, add like some wrath runes or something, I don't know, to shut people up. If they stick to the idea of making this a pump your resources and hope you get the unique boss, this boss will retain its value and its uniques better than Araxor or Hydra ever could. I think the necklace will be a better example of this than the Crimson Kiston, because the Crimson Kiston is probably going to be best in slot for the new raid. So the price on that's probably going to fluctuate really hard, because it's not going to be really worth doing anything with the Crimson Kiston for the first few months, but then Raids 4 is going to come around and, oh, you only use a Crimson Kiston there. And if I'm wrong, then you can come back here and tell me I'm stupid. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's good loot and boss design. I think this combo works, as opposed to something like PNM where it doesn't work. If you disagree, then feel free to yell at me. If not, then feel free to not yell at me. I don't know. Goodbye.